Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I don't know about you, but the moment I heard Jason Morgan was finally on his way back, I had a feeling the real drama wasn't going to be the prison doors opening. No, sir. The storm was waiting on the other side, and it had Britt Westbourne's name written all over it. Sometimes life doesn't give you a second chance wrapped up with a pretty bow. Sometimes it hands you the same person you love and asks whether you're brave enough to face the truth. As folks like to say around here, the truth always comes home to roost. That's exactly where I think Britt finds herself now. The more I look at this story, the more I feel sorry for Britt. She has barely had time to catch her breath after learning that the Huntington's disease she believed she had was never real. Imagine carrying the weight of a deadly illness for years, only to discover the medication was nothing more than saline. I'd be questioning every decision I ever made. On top of that, she has to process the shocking news that Cassius Faison, the man posing as Nathan West, is gone. That's enough to shake anybody to the core. But General Hospital never lets anyone sit comfortably for long. Just when Britt thinks she has reached the bottom, another surprise is waiting around the corner. The spoilers hint that she'll receive another life-changing piece of information, and I have a feeling that's when everything begins to shift. If that news is Jason's upcoming release, I can already picture the mix of relief and panic washing over her. Relief because the man she loves is finally coming home. Panic because now she has to face him with nothing left to hide. What really grabs my attention isn't the reunion itself. It's everything Britt will carry into that reunion. I keep thinking about Danny, about everyone who has been praying for Jason to come back safely, and how much hope his return will bring to the people who never stop believing in him. That kind of homecoming should be joyful, but Britt knows her own heart won't let her celebrate until she says the words she's been avoiding. From where I'm sitting, Britt isn't worried about whether she still loves Jason. That's never been the question. The real question is whether Jason can forgive the woman who believes she pulled him into a dangerous WSB nightmare. Guilt has a funny way of making us believe we're beyond saving, and I think that's exactly where Britt's mind is right now. She may be standing in front of the man she loves, but inside she's carrying the weight of every choice she wishes she could take back. I also can't forget those powerful moments before Jason was taken away, when both of them finally admitted what had been in their hearts for so long. Those feelings didn't disappear just because WSB stepped in. If anything, they've only become more complicated. Britt has every reason to wonder whether there's still a future waiting for them. But before she can dream about tomorrow, she knows she has to make peace with yesterday. That's why I believe Britt's first conversation with Jason won't begin with romance or celebration. It'll begin with an apology. Not a quick "I'm sorry" that gets brushed aside, but the kind that comes from someone who has replayed every painful memory 100 times. She'll likely ask Jason to forgive her for dragging him into this dangerous mess and for every consequence that followed. Whether Jason can let go of that pain is another story entirely. But one thing feels certain to me. This emotional confession could become one of the most unforgettable moments General Hospital has delivered in a long time. The more I think about Britt's situation, the more I believe the first words out of her mouth won't be about how happy she is to see Jason, they'll be about how sorry she is. If I've learned anything from watching people carry guilt, it's that they don't run toward happiness first. They run straight toward the burden that's been sitting on their shoulders. That's exactly where I see Britt. She has spent so much time replaying every terrible decision and every heartbreaking twist that I honestly don't think she'll be able to enjoy Jason's freedom until she has finally told him everything that's been weighing on her heart. From Britt's point of view, Jason gave up far more than anyone should have to give. He put himself in danger without asking for anything in return because he believed the woman he loved was fighting Huntington's disease. He never stopped trying to protect her, never stopped believing that every risk was worth taking if it meant saving her life. Then everything changed in an instant. The disease that had controlled Britt's every decision wasn't real. The medicine she thought was keeping her alive was nothing more than saline. The diagnosis that shaped her future was nothing but a carefully planned lie created to keep her trapped inside the cold fusion operation. I don't know about you, but if I found out my entire life had been manipulated like that, I'd probably spend days wondering what was real and what wasn't. I'd question every doctor's visit, every painful goodbye, every sleepless night, and every choice I made because I believed my time was running out. That's the kind of emotional earthquake Britt is living through. She isn't simply discovering that she was lied to. She's discovering that years of fear were manufactured by people who saw her as nothing more than a pawn in a much bigger game. That's why I have a hard time believing Jason will place that blame on her shoulders. The man was fooled just as completely as Britt was. He believed every frightening medical update because he trusted the people feeding them information. He watched Britt prepare herself for a future that never truly existed. He risked everything because he thought the woman he loved was running out of time. Jason has always had a way of seeing through manipulation, especially when someone he cares about has been victimized. I wouldn't be surprised if his first instinct is to comfort Britt instead of accusing her. As the old saying goes, don't shoot the messenger. In this case, Britt wasn't even the messenger. She was another casualty of an elaborate scheme. But as much as that revelation hurts, I don't believe it's the confession that terrifies Britt the most. No, the heavier burden has Cassius Faison's name written all over it. This is where the story becomes much messier, in my eyes. Britt knows there are questions Jason deserves to ask, and she knows she doesn't have easy answers. Cassius stole Nathan West's identity and managed to fool people for far too long. Whether he was the ruthless villain WSB wants everyone to believe, or a far more complicated figure caught in his own dangerous web, one fact remains impossible to ignore. His actions placed innocent lives at risk, created chaos, and pulled Jason into battles he never should have had to fight. What keeps running through my mind is Britt's role in all of this. Maybe she believed she was protecting people. Maybe she convinced herself there wasn't another choice. Fear has a way of making good people make decisions they'll regret forever. Still, secrets have consequences, and this secret was enormous. Jason has built his life on loyalty. Once he gives someone his trust, he expects honesty in return. Finding out Britt kept such a painful truth hidden could leave him feeling wounded in a way that bullets and prison walls never could. That doesn't mean I think Jason will stop loving her, not at all. But love and trust aren't always the same thing. Sometimes people can love each other with every piece of their heart while still struggling to understand the choices that were made. That's the emotional conflict I can't wait to see. Jason isn't the kind of man who explodes with dramatic speeches. His disappointment usually shows in the silence. And sometimes that silence says more than 1,000 angry words ever could. I also think Britt has already imagined this reunion 100 different ways in her own mind. Every time she closes her eyes, she probably pictures Jason walking through that door. In one version, he forgives her immediately. In another, he turns away without saying much at all. That's what guilt does to a person. It creates every possible ending before the real one ever has a chance to happen. The closer Jason gets to Port Charles, the harder it will become for Britt to escape those thoughts. At the same time, Jason's return should be a joyful moment for so many people. Danny will finally have his father back. Friends who refuse to give up hope will finally be able to breathe again. Port Charles has been missing one of its strongest protectors, and his release marks the end of an incredibly painful chapter. Yet while everyone else is celebrating, Britt may be preparing herself for the most difficult conversation of her life. That's why I believe their reunion won't be built around romance, hugs, or happy tears alone. It'll be built around honesty. Britt won't be asking Jason to pretend none of this happened. She'll be asking him to see the frightened, manipulated woman behind every mistake. She'll likely apologize for leading him into danger, for allowing Cassius's deception to continue longer than it should have, and for every painful consequence that followed. Whether those choices were made out of fear, confusion, or desperation won't erase the damage, but admitting them is the first real step toward healing. In the end, I don't think Jason's release is the finish line. I think it's the beginning of a brand new journey for both of them. Escaping prison is one thing. Escaping guilt, broken trust, and painful memories is something entirely different. If Jason and Britt are going to find their way back to each other, they'll have to build that future one honest conversation at a time. And if there's one thing I've learned after watching General Hospital all these years, it's this. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that never fall apart. They're the ones willing to face the truth, survive the storm, and keep fighting when walking away would be the easier choice.